to another adventure on this old truck. Today we've got a 94 Corolla, and I'm replacing the power steering bellow, which is on the passenger side. When you purchase the new boot, make sure that in this particular case, this inside section has a diameter inside here that is close to the same as the other one. Now if you look at these two, here's the issue. This one's got a nice little kind of a flare at the end there, and that flare helps it to slide onto the bracket that's on the inside. This one has a flare, but it's just a real tiny little flare, and that's going to be maybe not as easy to get on. Now the first one that I bought, and this is actually the second one that I bought, the first one that I bought, without some sort of spreader tool, I could not get it on. And I don't have spreader tools, and I figure I just want to get the right part that'll go on there properly. And so I went back and I exchanged it, got this one a few stores later. I picked up this one, and I'm going to slide this one on. I think it'll work just fine. I'm also going to put a little grease around that fitting so that it'll slide on a little easier. Got the car up on jack stands. I used the jack to hold it in place as well. Got the back wheels blocked up and the parking brake is on, so be safe out there, everybody. So here's the boot we're going to be taking off. It's got a little press clamp there that you squeeze that, pull that off. The other end is where the zip tie is, so I'll just get in there with the little snippers and I'll snip that off. We're going to slide this right off the end of this tie rod. Now what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to remove this. I'm just going to go ahead and keep that attached. I'm going to loosen up this nut right here, and then I'm going to make a mark with my magic marker here on the top of this shaft right here. And then as I start unscrewing this thing from my end here, my tie rod end, as I start unscrewing that, I'm going to count how many times I rotate that around. And that way I'll know how many times I got to rotate it back on at the end, so I don't have to realign this sucker. It's a 94. It's running true right now. I'm going to assume that if I get the threads just right, it'll be just the way it was when I took it apart. I'm going to rotate this over until the ball joint right here, the ball joint stops moving, and then you can get this thing to break right in here. Okay, right there. You just need to get it enough, just to maybe half turn or so. Now I put some seafoam lubricant on there. They call it Deep Creep on this bolt a little while ago, so it had time to kind of soak in. Alright, so you can see I've made a little black line on the top of my shaft here, and I've already unscrewed it one time around, but I'm putting the cart before the horse here. I need to take these clamps off first so that the shaft can just rotate inside of this boot freely, and that way it won't start twisting the boot. It doesn't matter. This one's the old one, so it didn't matter if I tear it up or anything. But instead of doing this the hard way, and when I put it back on, I have to make sure I do that as well. When I go to put this back into my tie rod end, I have to make sure that everything's loose on the inside there, all greased up and loose. But the last thing I'm going to do is put on this final clip, the one that's at this end of the boot. Here's a view down through the engine compartment from the top. So I held the camera with one hand, and then I reached all the way down, around, and underneath no, I'm just kidding. Someone else was manning the camera here. Just snip that zip tie and pull that out. Very easy to do if it's a zip tie. Now some of those are the metal clips that you have to kind of twist off. Use a wire cutters and kind of twist it until the thing breaks. It's a little more of a pain than these zip ties are. Now that I have the old one out, I'm going to grease up this spindle here just a little bit to slide it on. The new one, you can see how small the hole is at the bottom, and you can see that that inside part is going to have to go around something that's slightly larger than that is, so it's nice and snug. I think that's going to have its own little challenge with the tight spaces under there. Okay, the new boot went on pretty well. That one, it was very flexible on the far end, and it had a large enough diameter that it got about 2/3 of the way around, and then I put it on from the back side, and then I used this little hook, just hooked it on and just pulled it over, and it just hooked right around and slid right on. So perfect. Next step is to put your clip that's going to go onto here, but don't put it on, don't fasten it, because we're going to be turning this, and we want to have some play here so that it can slide in this greased area here. So if you want to put a little more grease here, it'll make this boot slide nice, so you don't twist the boot as you're turning the threads. And then don't forget to put that clamp here loose, and then put your nut back on. Because if you don't, then you're going to have to, you'll screw this all the way down, and then you'll realize, wait a minute, where's my tightening nut? And you forgot to put it on. Now, don't ask me how I know that could happen. But anyway, make sure that's on there. And then we're going to go ahead and rotate. I had 15 full rotations to put this back to the alignment that it was. And we're going to go ahead and do that, get this thing tightened up, and then we'll put this clamp on. That'll be the last thing we'll do there. Okay, awesome. All right, so that took about a couple hours total. Way longer than probably it should have, but it takes me a while. When I get the wrong part, I'm going to struggle with it for a while to get it on, and then realize, you know what, I think I need the right part. And I thought I could get that first one that I bought to go over that large end, but I couldn't. And by buying the second one, it was perfect. Went right on. So make sure that you do check your parts a little more thoroughly than I did. But this is one with just a few tools. You can take care of business on this, take care of any cracks that you might have or breaks in that boot. Hope you enjoyed watching. Thanks for watching. Thanks for joining us on This Old Truck. Take care now.